Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and I'm not alone. As you might have expected, I'm here with Mr. Jibbity John and Mr. Zeddy Zion. Say hello.
Pokémon.
Hello. Aww.
I don't know whether that was a hello of disappointment or what, but I'm sure we'll get into it. So yes, the Pokémon... It's not a direct. They've been very clear to say it's not a direct. It's just like a Pokemon presentation. We've literally just seen it. And we thought we'd have a little bit of an old chatteroony about what we just saw. Before we get into it, I just want to say I really, really, really dislike the Premiere system that YouTube uses. It was buffering like nobody's business, and it completely ruined the flow.
I'm glad to know that I wasn't alone in that either, because I was sitting here thinking, man, I'm glad we're not streaming this, like at least on my end, because it would have been terrible. And like I guess I'm not glad that I'm not alone, because that means everyone else was affected, but wow, it was bad.
Misery loves company though, doesn't it?
I'm watching these trailers again outside of the live buffering, and they're so much more pleasant when it's not just stuttering every couple of seconds.
And about half as long, which is great.
Yeah. The live stream ended suddenly too. It was halfway through one of the game's presentations.
Yeah.
And okay, thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's a problem with YouTube premieres, because I think it cuts off at the video's duration. And of course, if it hasn't finished by that point, it just goes, I'm washing my hands of the situation. But, YouTube stuff aside, the presentation, we'll talk about all of it in order. The presentation opened with, hang on, let me actually look at the timestamp. Over 5 minutes of looking through every Pokemon thing that they could think of, which I think it would be kind of fun if they didn't do it for every presentation in some form. I'm just so bored of seeing these now.
They certainly love their sort of legacy, like everyone grew up with Pokemon videos, here's your childhood. I will say one thing though, when they showed Pokemon Puzzle League, I was like, I feel acknowledged. This game never gets into presentations. I felt seen. And then it went on for another 4 minutes, but still, it was worth it.
I think that was one of the best celebration videos I've ever seen Pokemon do, is just that singular 5 minutes, because you're right, they captured, like, I feel like they probably missed a few things, but it felt like they captured everything that Pokemon has ever been about, or everything that it's ever affected. You know, when I saw the Puzzle League, I felt it for you, John, and then I saw pinball happen before that, and I was like, yes. No way. They're not going there right now. And they even showed, I think, the typing game that we never got here in the States. But it was,
did you not?
They were covering everything. Yeah.
Oh, I got it for $5 because I wanted the keyboard. I have it in the background of all the videos where I'm on camera.
Nice.
Look out for that next time I'm on your screen. I must say, and please tell me if I'm wrong, I was disappointed at the lack of the Pokemon Pikachu color. There was only Pokemon Pikachu. You know?
I think you're right.
They're not including everything. I mean, obviously they can't include everything, but I don't know. I'm just, for a 20-minute presentation, for a quarter of it to be, look at all the stuff we've done before. I'm just, I don't know. I'm just so tired of seeing these. And it just,
That's a good perspective. I think I'm coming from the side of it was so artistically pleasing as well. Like I loved that it was using a frame rate that was almost like stop motion at times, even when there were like human hands on screen. And I enjoyed it a lot, but I totally get it. That was a fourth of the presentation.
And far too many hashtags. hashtag. And then at one point they used mixed typefaces, and I got very annoyed.
At least they didn't announce hashtag before everything.
Oh, I know.
Hashtag typing, hashtag pinball.
There were games in this presentation though, right? It wasn't just the intro.
Yeah, no, let's skip over that. Then they talked about some, they talked about even more stuff, and then they started talking about Pokemon Snap, which I thought looked really good. Any thoughts about that? I think it looks beautiful.
Looks perfect. This is one of my favorite Pokemon spin-offs, and it looks like it's doing everything it can do. And I love, at moments, it looks like the camera is moving with a gyro. It's much less stiff than prior presentations. And I love the photo editing too. That's not something I considered, but putting filters on at the end and sort of customizing it all, yeah, it looks great.
And it looks like you're slightly able to adjust the position of the camera in 3D space afterwards. I assume you can't do that to like improve your score, but just for the sake of like sharing it online. At least I hope it doesn't improve your score. If that is the case, I think that's a really lovely feature, because you can just miss something by a frame or two, and then you can just slightly correct it. And if you're sharing it online and you're not actually looking for points and stuff, I think that's a really lovely feature, a really nice quality of life thing.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I almost feel the opposite about that feature. Like I almost want them to not let you do that, just because then those special moments will feel that much more special. And I'm not, and that's just a very personal thing for me. But I do like the idea of, you know, being able to go like slap googly eyes on top of all of your pictures if you want. And I think I saw there was like a depth of field option too that allows you to kind of adjust what your focus point is. And that's that, you know, that is a little unrealistic as far as taking photographs in real life goes, but that's photo modes for games these days. So it's you know, for a virtual world, I think it's nice. But
there are cameras that allow you to choose your focal point afterwards.
What?
Yeah, I can't remember how it works, but I remember seeing it like 10 years ago or something. Hideously irrelevant, but you could like just change the depth of field and where your focal point was. It must have just taken a load of photos. I don't know how else it would have worked.
It could be even too like how iPhone cameras and stuff, a lot of them these days will do, or at least older ones would blur out the background in certain parts or something. So maybe
that's false, isn't it? It's fake.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. But who knows? But anyways,
I mean, they showed off a new thing, like, I can't remember exactly what it was called. It was something that the professor invented. I've just got to that part in the video.
Oh, the balls that you
Illumina balls, which is fun to say. It's fine as an inclusion. It just sort of feels quite invasive to the natural order of things. Just like, hey, wild animals, glow for me.
At least they look happy about it in the moment. You know, they don't look upset about the fact that you just illuminated them.
You're just throwing radioactive catnip at them.
They're probably replacing the pest balls from the first Pokemon Snap, because they were a bit weird. You throw this ball that goes into a puff of smoke, and I think it transformed some Dittos, like they were Metapod Dittos or something like that in one of the caves. So that was always a bit of a weird ball. So I imagine this is kind of just, it's the iteration of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But are there any other thoughts about Pokemon Snap? They showed a fair bit, but nothing groundbreaking.
Yeah, we've kind of seen this game enough now, I think.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you can, like, I never thought about the idea of being able to upload your photos to a worldwide sort of database where you can get your photo, you know, you can share it with people online and rank it. I don't know why that just did not cross my brain, but when I saw it, I was like, that's a smart idea. I like that. Because, I thought they were just going to say, oh, you can share your photos on Twitter and on Facebook with your friends. Ooh. But I like this community that they're kind of building around the photos that you take. It's a neat inclusion.
I feel the total opposite. It's not that I dislike the idea of, people can upload to a sort of an in-game server or something. That's fine, it's just not something I like to do. I much prefer to put stuff up on, like, Twitter and not Facebook, because I don't use it, really. But, just put them up on Twitter and share them with people in a much more, I don't know, a lot more sort of less, I don't know. It's just not something I've ever done. I've never done it with Smash either, which has something similar. The
perspective I would see, and not to say that you're wrong, but I think there's a lot of kids out there still that might play this game that, like, maybe their parents, won't, maybe they don't have Twitter or something like that. So I think in that case, if you were like 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever, just being able to share it with a safe, or share it in a safe environment, I think is kind of just a neat appeal. But that's something I didn't think about until you brought up the fact that you don't even want to share them on there. Is maybe the whole photo sharing idea is meant for a different audience, not meant for us Twitter kids. Yeah. Right.
So moving on to the next the actual meet. Well, they talked about, like, there's going to be some special Gigantamax raids and stuff like that. I think we can gloss over that, can't we? Because realistically, we need to get onto the meat, don't we?
Yeah, it seems like every current Pokemon game is getting some sort of new update, but it's all just kind of bonuses, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So the one of the big two announcements was Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Pokémon Shining Pearl coming to the Nintendo Switch. Remakes of the original Diamond and Pearl, which were originally released on the DS back in the space year of, I think, 2006, I want to say. Is that right?
I think it was 2007.
2007.
So, yeah. Around that time.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the reveal? It looks to be fairly accurate recreation, you know, it's not trying to do... I sort of expected something a bit more Sword and Shield-like, but they've gone really quite traditional.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a very traditional translation of how the DS game looked. Like, if you were to take a picture of a DS screenshot of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and then just sort of bumped it into 3D, this is basically exactly how it'd look. The same sort of, like, kind of squarish, chibi models. And I like it. When I first saw it, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, do I like this? But then as it went on, it just kind of felt cute. It's what I imagined the DS games would have looked like in more detail.
Yeah, for me, I felt quite the opposite. I was texting a buddy of mine who's a huge Pokemon fan, and he texted me and said, "Oh no, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl got Link's Awakening," and but you're right. It is a very accurate remake, a representation of what, you know, the games probably would have looked like if they were made on the Switch nowadays, using that same type of format. So, but I think for me, it's going to take a little bit more time, at least for the overworld elements to grow on me. It's just not really. It sort of has kind of like a bit of a mobile game vibe, but you know, give it some time, and I bet, you know, playing the game will change my mind. And I wasn't really a big fan of Diamond and Pearl either. I fell off of Diamond really quick. So there, you know, this isn't pinching a nostalgia bone for me or anything either. But it's still, plenty of people have been begging for this remake. So I just hope that those people are happy with this.
Well, actually, here's one thing I don't like, actually. So going back through the footage, one thing I liked about Let's Go is that it kind of evolved an older game and made it modern by having live action encounters. You don't go into the grass and find random encounters. It looks like they're random again, and it kind of dates it, you know. Like with remakes, I kind of want them to bring it up to modern standards, and there's probably going to be some quality of life improvements, sure, but that's one of the biggest one Pokemon's had in a decade. You know, having actual encounters in the overworld, and it's kind of a bummer if we're losing those.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because it seems like this game, without really changing a lot about it, it seems like it's they're trying to cater towards the more classic, traditional, hardcore Pokemon audience, because they even said, you know, this is going to be a very nostalgic experience. So you'd think that in that case they would want to try to artistically make this game appeal to that older generation, but it's kind of like they're mixing the two things. It's like they're mixing this, you know, cutesy Let's Go art style, sort of, but with the classic games. And yeah, they're not bringing over that new feature, which it was so cool being able to see Pokemon just in the wild like that. I completely agree, and I didn't think about that at all, that it's just missing.
We're going to go through caves again and just find wave after wave of Zubat. I hope you're excited to go back to that.
I hate the art style.
Oh boy.
I'm not big on chibi at the best of times, and this is like ultra chibi. And when you're in the battles and stuff, it's okay. I still think like the skin textures look unreasonably smooth, but oh god, I'm just watching it again, and it does look. John is absolutely right. It does look like a sort of a faithful 3D realization of what the 2D games maybe would have looked like, you know, if they were 3D. Absolutely. The thing is that you've got the power of the Switch now. It doesn't need to look. Oh god, no. I absolutely loathe the art style. The game's probably pretty damn good. I was actually a fairly big fan of Diamond and Pearl, but. Oh, I really hope I can look past the art style, because right now I wouldn't even say I'm disappointed. I'm just like, and I know that may well seem like an overreaction to many people, and it likely is, but it's how I feel, and
I definitely need to see more. I need to know what they're improving, because if it's just a visual remake, that's quite unexciting. Like, Soul Silver and Heart Gold had a lot of gameplay improvements. So did Fire Red and Leaf Green. Like, that had running, which the initial Gen 1 games didn't have. What's this game doing that Gen 4 didn't do? I need to know that stuff.
Yeah, they generally seem to bring them up to a more sort of recent generation. Not completely, but they definitely try and bump them up a little bit. I'm not getting that with this. It just looks like, hey, it's Pokemon Diamond, but it's in Pearl, but it's in 3D, and you're not. I think you're not on a grid now. I think maybe ever so slightly.
It looks like you can move around freely, right?
Yeah, which is it's 2021 stuff, baby.
Yeah. I guess the exciting thing though is it's made by, I think it's pronounced Ilka, I-L-C-K. I-L-C-A, I should say. Ilka making this game rather than Game Freak's pretty exciting, because that means that hopefully that gives Game Freak more of a buffer to put more resources into their next couple of games. And maybe in the future, all the remakes and maybe even some more lower-key games will be done by other development studios.
That is something that I would actually quite like to see more of, because, yeah, as you say, Game Freak, I think they get a little bit stretched thin, or at least maybe the budget gets a little stretched thin. So maybe this will allow them to sort of free things up a little bit and maybe give Game Freak a little bit more creative freedom, which is, something that we're potentially going to be seeing chatting about in just a mini moment. But yeah, I mean, overall, it looks like a fine remake, but it doesn't scream like they put a load of thought and time and effort into it. It just seems very by the numbers. As you said, Xeon, kind of Link's Awakening style, but I think Link's Awakening, even though I can understand why the art style was divisive, I was on the positive side. I've just realized this game's running at 30 frames a second.
Oh, yeah, and I noticed there's no depth of field, tricks being played in the overworld segments of this remake either, which...
it's a bit basic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is very... I think one of you guys said it as well, but it's very safe. And that isn't a bad thing, but it's... But yeah, it would be nice to see some new improvements beyond just the graphical differences. So... I mean, when did they say that it's going to be coming out late 2021, I believe?
Yeah,
so, I mean, there's still
right.
plenty of time for them to show us some new things about it. Yeah, worldwide in late 2021. Did either of you guys notice, too, that it felt like the logos, the Brilliant Diamond and the Shining Pearl, looks like they kind of like sat out in the sun too long and just got a little faded? Like, the coloring on it is just, that's a very picky thing. It's so dumb. It
also, I don't wish to be rude, but it looks like somebody made it in Photoshop in half an hour.
It does, yeah. I like the names a lot. I really do.
Yeah, the names are absolutely fine. No problem with the names. I just think the logos are a bit... they kind of reflect the game, and that they're just uninspired a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to see more about this game. Because it's not just about the visuals. There's way more to it than that, and they didn't really communicate anything.
Yeah, I really hope that they've introduced some new stuff, and that it's not just a straight port. Well, not port, a straight remake.
Yeah, and I suppose too, from my side of view as well, I've still been playing through Pokemon Blue recently, and graphics definitely are not everything. As I'm like 25 or 30 hours in, so as long as these new remakes are fun, and they bring some new things, that's all that. I shouldn't say that's all that matters, because it's not, but
it's a chunk of what matters.
Yeah.
So the next game, which is a lot more exciting in my opinion, is the sequel to X-Men Legends Wolverine, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I can never remember which is the right one. All I need to think of is Arceus is funny, so it's not that one. But yeah, this is a brand new game being developed by Game Freak, and it takes place in Sinnoh, much like Diamond and Pearl, but it takes place very much in the past. I mean... like, we're talking, I suppose, for lack of a better term, sort of feudal times. I mean, it's fantasy, but I'm getting that kind of feel from it. And also, it's open world. It is a big, wild expanse, hence, taking place in past times. Towns and technology and everything are much more basic, and nature is still a prevalent force. And I've got to say, that on the face of it, the idea and the concept and the design, I think it looks really good.
I love the prototype Pokeballs. Like we see it on the table at the start of the trailer and during the character artwork. They're so cool. Yeah, I mean, the gameplay possibilities look amazing. Like being able to actually sneak and sort of be stealthy in the grass when you throw your Pokeballs. All that stuff sounds great. There's definitely hiccups. This is a 2022 game, so there's potential to fix those hiccups. But Chimchar is moving at 4 frames per second.
Yeah, there are some when you're looking at a model that isn't close to the camera, there are some I mean, in battles generally it seems to be all right, but a lot of the time it ain't. Like, as you say, there are certain instances where you can see Pokemon moving at very, very low FPS that are not that far away from the camera, and it doesn't. I mean, like, yeah, the game looks miles better visually than Sword and Shield. Absolutely. The lighting is better, the design is much more interesting, there's more going on, but there are significantly few models on the screen. Like, there are instances where there's you, the landscape, like the Chimchar, the Pokeball, and a torch on screen, and the Chimchar's running at like 4 or 5 frames a second. That's not good.
I almost have to hope that, you know, this game is hopefully very early in development, and if it gets pushed to the end of 2022 or even 2023, you know, so be it. You know, just make it good. But I feel like, you know, this game is never going to be something that's going to come to PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or PC even. And I feel like we've never seen a better example of something that is begging for a Switch Pro than this game so far. Because you're absolutely right. There's not a lot happening on screen, and it looks pretty. It's very visually satisfying when you stop and look at it. But once it's going, there's parts that are not pleasing to the eye once you catch them.
No. Yeah, it definitely needs a lot more spit and polish on the visuals, which can absolutely happen. We don't know how old this build is. The game's not even coming out for another year, so there's plenty of time to spit and polish that sort of thing. But I think the gameplay possibilities and the concept, because you're going out and you're making the first Pokedex in the Sinnoh region. That's a way more interesting idea than we've ever seen in, like, right. I hasten to say a traditional Pokemon game, because this isn't really, but, you know, in a sort of typical battle-style Pokemon game. That's way more interesting rather than you're a child and, Elite Four, go and take him out.
This definitely looks like a more adult-geared Pokemon game. Like, a lot of Pokemon games, they have to cater towards people who've never played a game before. Maybe they're growing up and this is their first Pokemon game ever. This one seems to be for those who grew up with Pokemon and want something a bit more involved. And what's cool about that is that this isn't Gen 9. Like, this is just some off-kilter game that they're doing while another studio is doing a remake. And the experimentation factor of that is really exciting. Also, I love that Pokemon battles appear to be within actual world space, kind of like what Dragon Quest XI does. Because the thing I hated the most about Sword and Shield is you'll be in like some sort of hotel lobby, and then all of a sudden it comes in, the team comes in and battles you, and suddenly you're in like a white space, like you're nowhere, you're in a white void. And I love that it appears that battles just happen. They're happening in the space that they occur in. I love that.
Looks like when you're fighting this Garchomp at one point in this game, they're both kind of on a hill, and they're on different surface levels. So hopefully the game can just kind of adapt around that. But maybe it just takes a lot more planning on Game Freak's end than we would have imagined, since they don't make games like this.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Dragon Quest did it, so it's definitely possible. But yeah, it definitely depends on their resources. What do you think about the starters, though? We've got Rowlet, Cyndaquil, and Oshawott.
Yeah, I think I know. Or at least I have a theory, shall we say. I think they're playing off the more sort of old-fashioned, sort of historical ideas, limited technology and things like that, because Oshawott kind of, well, not Oshawott, but, Oshawott's final evolution, Samurott. Is that right? Pretty sure that's right.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Samurai.
Sure.
Feudal Japan.
Interesting.
You've got Typhlosion, which we'll come back to. And you've got Rowlet, who's an final evolution Decidueye, an archer. We're looking at very sort of traditional combat styles. Well, I don't know what Typhlosion is, but
Yeah, I don't know, just a big Cyndaquil.
Yeah, it's a big, sort of shrew, a big shrew on fire. Very typical combat method in feudal Japan. Look it up. But no, overall, I think that this is, even though we haven't seen much of it, I think just the possibilities are extremely encouraging. What they're showing off is not making me brimming with confidence in terms of the technical side of things. It looks like it's running at a relatively low resolution, and there are frame rate issues with things in the distance, as we previously said. But, I think the art direction is really good.
This makes me more excited for Pokemon than I have been in years, because they're trying something new, and that's all I can ask for. Even if it fails, even if they try all these gameplay styles and they don't work, I'll still be happy they did something different. But hopefully it does work, because that means all these gameplay styles will make it in to the next Gen 9 Pokemon game.
Oh, please. Please.
If Game Freak started allotting, some of their time, some of their yearly, releases to big games like this that actually tell stories, like the stories that we see in the Pokemon movies, and maybe not necessarily the TV show, but I think that would be a great step in the right direction. Because I think for me and for a lot of other people, we just kind of felt burnt out on the basic Pokemon formula. And I agree. I think it's really cool that they're trying something new. Even though I almost wish that they would have held off on showing us this Pokemon Legends game a little bit longer until we had more to actually look at and talk about. But the possibility of what this game could be it's definitely exciting.
I really hope so much that this is them. This is somebody at Game Freak, somebody saying, let's try something new, and having numerous people saying no, we can't, this is what the fans want to say. Okay, what about if we do a side game, and if it works, maybe we can then incorporate some of those into the main line. I really hope that that's what they're doing. They're testing this sort of stuff out in a quote-unquote safe environment so that they can bring some much needed ingenuity and fresh ideas into the mainline Pokemon games. I just really hope that they're able to pull this off properly and make it a success, just as you said, John.
I really hope so. I'm thinking about what the world's going to be like to explore, because the wild area, it was cool, but it was also very flat. Whereas this, it looks very much like Breath of the Wild, and I'm imagining just exploring Breath of the Wild and catching Pokemon in there. Like, that's the ultimate post-game reward. Just going around and just being in the world and capturing everything you want. That sounds really inviting.
I was counting the seconds until one of us made a reference to Breath of the Wild.
It has to happen.
Yeah, it was like when that first image of the game opened up, and it was just like, oh, this is Pokemon Breath of the Wild, isn't it?
And if that is the case, and it is taking inspiration from Breath of the Wild, I say do it. Breath of the Wild is one of the finest games that has ever been made. If it can take any inspiration from that surely cannot be a bad thing. I just really hope that we get some interesting movement options, and there are some interesting ideas popping into my head. But maybe we should save some of the finer ideas that we've gotten speculation for potentially a video in the future.
Yeah, I think there's more. There's more we could talk about this. And I hope that we see more of this game again soon. I don't mean to, we can keep talking about this if you guys want to, but do you think that we're going to get another Pokemon Presents at any point this year? Do you feel that this is going to be the only one we see? Because I don't know what their history is of doing these type of presentations. I know we've got them before, but
I imagine we'll get something for that Pokemon MOBA. I can't remember what it's called now. Pokemon Flim Flam or something.
Oh yeah, Tencent the game.
It's a Tencent the game.
Well, there's also Detective Pikachu, which they announced and never specified what it was. People don't know if it's a sequel or a remake.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I hope it's a sequel. I mean, I never properly played the original, but even so, something new, always nice.
We're supposed to be getting a remake and a sequel, aren't we? I believe.
I don't think they actually specified what it was. They just said Detective Pikachu's coming to Switch. And they also announced Pokemon Sleep and never elaborated on what that was. And we still don't know.
And they had a big trailer for that too. Detective Pikachu was just kind of like, hey, here's the movie, and we're doing another game.
Maybe it was tied to the success of the film, and the film didn't do as well. I have no idea how well the film did, actually.
Sonic beat it, but it did all right.
Yeah, to be fair, Sonic did not deserve to beat it. I've seen both of them now, and Detective Pikachu, whilst it's by no means a perfect film, it's way ahead of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog is boring. But that's not what we're talking about, I think.
We can get into this, but no, we probably shouldn't.
You guys are totally right about Detective Pikachu 2. I looked back into it, yep, and it was announced, but they didn't specify what it was. I think it's just wishful thinking that I wanted it to be a remake, because that would, do a remake and a sequel, because otherwise it's just like Monster Hunter Stories 2. Don't just put the sequel on Switch when it's rotting away, when the first one's rotting away on the 3DS.
Yeah, don't do something new when you can rehash something you've already done.
Well, just do both.
I want to say one positive thing about visuals in Pokemon. In the Diamond and Pearl remake, there's one scene where they're by the lake, and the water looks good. That's some good-looking water.
Yeah, it's got some interesting reflections going on.
So there you go. there's your visual compliment.
Okay, well, that about wraps up our thoughts about the recent Pokemon Presents. I mean, overall, I think that the Pokemon Legends Arceus thing, definitely the highlight. Can't argue. Everything else was fine. I mean, the Diamond and Pearl remakes didn't fill me with confidence, but it's fine, But the Pokemon Legends stuff, I'm really excited for that now.
They're trying something new. Hopefully, it pays off. But it looks very innovative, and I really do hope that they manage to pull this one off.
Yeah, it seems like this presentation was all geared around things that the fans have been asking for years, and even though that everything didn't get delivered in the way that we might have wanted, it seems like they're at least listening. And so hopefully the next presentation we get a new Pokemon Puzzle League, and we get a Pokemon Pinball, and the trading card game on Switch. That baffles me that it's not there yet. But
Pokemon Pikachu 3D.
Oh my god. Hey you Pikachu 3D.
This is the stuff, Xeon, that the chat would be saying, where's the next Pokemon game? And we'll be freaking out about Pokemon Puzzle League and Pinball.
Yeah. Finally, our
Lordy.
prayers.
But that's what we think. What about you? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was, rubbish? I don't know. Let us know with a comment down below. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you throw a Pokeball at that subscribe button that's moving at 4 frames a second, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.
Get in this Pokeball, Xeon.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Piplup.
Could you do something a bit longer? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Piplup.
Man, I don't know about you guys, but that X-Men Legends sequel. Whew.
I've already made that joke in the live chat.
I know. I'm reading it verbatim, basically.